So we're here today with Denise Brown, Surry County's Assistant Finance Officer, to discuss our Invest in Surry dollars. Denise, what can you tell us about Invest in Surry?
Invest in Surry is an exciting opportunity, one of which I really never thought I would see. I've been with county and state government for 33 years, and it's very rare to see an opportunity where we have money to provide like we have from the Invest in Surry dollars.
Okay. And what exactly is Invest in Surry?
Invest in Surry is pretty much what the name says. We have identified funds from where CARES Act paid us to run public health and public safety, and we were able to pay ourselves back for those services legally from the money that we received from CARES Act. And our board decided to redirect those dollars to outside organizations, really to invest in the future of Surry County.
Cool. So what is the total cost of Invest in Surry?
$13,943,006.
She knows that very specifically, doesn't she? So let's talk in detail a little bit about the projects Invest in Surry helped fund. First on my list is a substance abuse renovation. I assume that was the basement project here in the courthouse, is that right?
That is correct. Our substance abuse program, as you know, is growing and growing, and Mark Willis and his group are doing an excellent job with substance abuse recovery, but they were basically in an area large enough for about 4 people, and they had grown to 15 people. So right. We were able to use some of the dollars to invest in that program, and we have upfitted the basement, and they have a very nice area down there, even with conference and training rooms where they can meet with their clients.
Right. We certainly know there's a need for those services here in Surry County, so I know that's a welcome addition for staff here. Under public recreation, ball field lighting at Beulah, Mountain Park, Dobson, Shoals, which have been previously covered on Surry on the Go, if you'll look for that video on our app and watch our channel live. Also, some asbestos abatement and gym floor / bathroom restoration at White Plains Community Center. What can you tell us about those projects, Denise?
All of the projects, and again, this is community-wide projects, and again, like you said, the ball field lighting, and that was an exciting one. I actually watched that the other night myself. I found it and watched those videos, and that was really good. But the abatement, as you know, there's a lot of old buildings in our county in the school system, even in the county system, and asbestos was a very popular thing in the 50s and 60s. So there's a lot of the buildings that, you know, as long as it's not disturbed, it's safe for people to be in, but with the building ages, you know, a lot of the buildings are starting to deteriorate, and so we were able to abate the asbestos in there for the gym, which protects, obviously, the safety of the children that are in there and the families with them.
I know that the public appreciates those facilities being renovated and improved for sure. Under community development, 1830 Rockford project at the old Rockford Courthouse. Let's start with that and then go down the list here.
Okay. That's an exciting project as well, because, you know, the county has assumed ownership now of the 1830, the old Rockford Courthouse, and we are working on that project. Not exactly sure how that's going to wind up yet and what all that's going to entail, but we have begun going in, looking at the structure, getting the designs and drawings, which we hope to have within a week of the designs and drawings for the new project, and then we'll unveil what that looks like and what all opportunities will be available there. Second on your list, I think, is Surry Arts Council.
Correct.
We helped fund the new building that the Arts Council has done across the street from the main Andy Griffith Playhouse in Mount Airy. That's a really good project as well, because there's a lot of meeting room in there. There's a lot of opportunity for activities for people, for the community to do, a lot of different things that the Arts Council offers a wealth of opportunities for the Mount Airy area and for Surry County.
Certainly do. And Museum of Regional History in Mount Airy.
We also provided for their capital campaign because they were wanting to do some expansions and do some upgrades and new exhibits, that kind of thing. So we provided money for that, and that's going to be exciting. I've not actually gotten to see that one yet. I'm waiting to go in and see what all they've added there, but I haven't actually gotten to go see that one myself.
Right, it's a nice facility. And of course, Surry Digital Platform, that's us, Surry on the Go. So I'll just say we're very thankful for that funding, and thank you for helping manage this project and get off the ground, Denise.
Thank you.
On to public safety, Mobile Command Response Unit. What can you tell us about that one?
I just received pictures of that this week. We should have it in May. This is a large mobile command unit. We are going to be, I think, the only county in North Carolina to have one of those. There was one other county that had one, and they no longer have it. This is really exciting. We kind of hope it never comes into play. It's one of those things where we're investing in the citizens for the chance of a large-scale emergency, and that's really what that mobile unit is for. It is being built by Featherlight as we speak. As I said, we received pictures of it the other day. The truck that we have to pull the mobile command unit, it's about a 32,000-pound unit. So it's rather large scale, but we have the truck is on order, and we'll be here next week for that as well. So that's going to be wonderful if we have the emergency, but again, we really hope that we get to use it for other things like community events, getting out, public health, public safety, getting to meet the community, doing things. We hope we never have to use it for a large-scale emergency, but it'll be nice to have if we ever have one.
Right. That's very important, and that's for our emergency services department.
Correct. It will be shared with communications, the 911 communications, the emergency management, and the sheriff's department.
Right. So it'll help them with their services, and it'll benefit the public if needed.
Yes.
Public safety systems replacement. What is that?
Well, the state public safety system, which is all the radios that our officers carry, the equipment that's in the ambulances, on the sides of the paramedics, communications, all of the talking that has to do. The 911 system across the state is changing that system. And when they change that system, our stuff will not work any longer.
Right.
So it was a large investment into that, but thankfully we are ahead of the curve because now we don't have to worry about supply chain because we have already replaced all of our systems and we're ready to go when they make the change in 2025.
That's great, and that helps ensure people's safety on those 911 calls and whatever calls they make, right?
Absolutely.
Good. Public information sign, I assume that's the one on Atkins Street off the Dobson 601 exit at the service center.
That is correct, and that is an informational sign for the public that we can change periodically. We hope that people go by and look at it tells activities, events. If there is any emergency notifications, we can put that on the sign. So again, great for the society and great for our citizens because it's a way we can share, just like Surry on the Go, another way we can share information with them.
Right. And then several big deal items, I would call them, under infrastructure, public water and sewer. Tell me some more details about that.
The board set aside money for public water and sewer, and that is something the only thing that we really know right now where that money is directly going is through the town of Dobson. With the new detention center, it is going to place a larger strain on the sewage system. So we are giving them some of that money will go to them to help upgrade their system to be able to handle the larger facility that we have. Other than that, we're not sure exactly where those dollars are going to go yet. There's possibilities. One caveat with the state is we cannot build them and they will come. That is not allowed in public water and sewer. So we have to wait until something is in place before we can actually assign those dollars to an area.
Okay, gotcha. Broadband fiber, I know that was awarded to Surry Communications. I know businesses and residents are looking forward to that, Denise.
Yes, we did award about right, 1.69 to Surry Communications. We did put out an RFP. They were the one that was awarded based on the ones that we received, and so that's going to be exciting for our businesses and our local citizens who live mostly in the rural areas that are not already, specifically State Road, Thurman, Mountain Park, some of the areas in that area of the county. The deep part of Shoals and that part of the county is another really they're served in some ways, but with boots on the ground, we know that we're not receiving service that they need to receive. So that is going to put a lot of fiber in homes in a large area and the businesses that are in those areas.
Also in infrastructure were some airport improvement funds. Was that for the new hangar?
That actually is for the new hangar, yes. And I had to think for a second because, you know, Invest in Surry is part of what I handle and as the assistant finance officer, but I also handle some of the other airport monies that are coming in from grants. So I paused there for a second myself because we have monies coming in for a terminal as well, and I had to remember which one was which. So, but that is money for what we're calling corporate area development, but that is the upper area, and it is for site development, hangars, for that type thing.
A lot of projects going on, we understand that. Public health, this says health department renovation. What's going on with that? I don't know much about that.
So the health department, as you know, as like most of our buildings, the health department has been in the same building for quite some time now. And they've overgrown that part as well. And of course, a lot of the structure itself needs some updating. So we are actually going to renovate the area where they are, make it a little bit more people-friendly, COVID-friendly, because, you know, we learned in this COVID crisis that, you know, we couldn't do business as usual and we had to put up temporary barriers and we had to do things. So, and of course, these monies were, you know, originated, and thankfully, because of what we got, we were able to share money that we already had in our general fund. So that's where these monies came from. And that's exciting to the health department because, you know, that we can go in there and get them a better structure to better deal with the population that they serve, which has grown. Specifically during COVID, their population has grown a lot.
Right. And Denise, let's tell the public about this new river access that's funded under public recreation. It says Sheep Farm Road area.
You know, I will say I'm a little less versed in these because we've not done as much with these projects yet. I will say the river access, we had hoped to get 3, but we have to get landowner buy-in to get river access, obviously, because a lot of times there's landowners that own the land. You know, we don't own the land at the river. So we did get buy-in, and this one is going to happen, the one on Sheep Farm Road. I'm not exactly sure where we are. We've not spent any Invest in Surry dollars yet on the project. We have set the money aside. So I know that's an upcoming project. Now, as far as river access as a whole, the exciting part about that is because there is large stretches of the Yadkin River, and as you know, we're a tourism county. We have a lot of people that come in for our rivers, for our parks, for our different programs we have. And that's a good thing with the river access because it allows people to get in and out of the river in a shorter distance instead of having to go a further distance, which is actually not as safe as when they have like an entry and an out point. So, but that's as a whole, but I've not actually seen that particular one.
I gotcha. And I know there's always moving parts with those Parks and Rec projects. I could assume the same for the Mountains to Sea Trail, or? Correct.
We are, you know, there is a section that we are hoping to add to on that because, as you know, that's been evolving and they've been working on that more and more and developing more. So that will be another section of the trail that we're hoping to do from Elkin to, I'm trying to remember exactly where that one's located, from Elkin maybe towards the Yadkin, I'm thinking maybe in that direction.
Gotcha. We did a piece on Surry on the Go about the friendship segment of the Mountains to Sea Trail, and that's turning out very nice over there. And a well-known historical house in Surry County has benefited from Invest in Surry. If you've been to the Soccer Festival, you're familiar with the Edward Franklin House. I see a roof replacement project. Denise, what's going on with that?
Anybody who actually has been to that house knows that that is a very, very steep roof, and it's an older structure, and so that the roof is in need of repairs. That project is still ongoing, but that was set aside for them to do. The dilemma now is they're having trouble getting someone in there to actually do the project, so that's kind of why we've not already spent those funds, but they're working on that.
Right.
And so that'll be another project that will preserve one of Surry County's heritage, because without the roof replacement, it'll eventually fall in if it's not repaired. So that's something that will preserve our heritage.
Right.
And the Sockers, which is important.
That's right. That's right. Well, folks, there were plenty of nonprofits in Surry County that have benefited from Invest in Surry as well. We'll go over those now with Denise. Denise, let's talk about a few of these, starting with the Yadkin Valley United Fund.
Okay. Before we get into specifics, I do want to say we received 37 applications for the nonprofit.
Wow.
So we were blessed with applications. We actually had more requests than what the board had set aside for the funds. But we looked at, and one of the things, and I think this is important to note, because I think people don't understand sometimes that the county cannot fund every single project. We have statutory limitations, we have constitutional limitations that the board has to follow the laws that are set in place for them to follow. So one of the things that we did up front was we made these for 501c3s, and we did not look at other nonprofits. The other thing we did was we looked at a two-part test, which meant that we had to look at how much this benefited citizens versus private individuals or the organizations themselves. We immediately decided that salaries, we were not going to entertain salaries, so we did not allow any salaries to be funded with any of the dollars that we used. The other thing we did was we looked at their annual operating budgets for the year, and we actually only decided to do 50% of that. We felt that was important because we were not going to fund a $500,000 project for an organization who normally has a $20,000 operating budget, for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. Now, exceptions we did were for some of the other ones, which two we've talked about previously were the arts and the museums, because they're handled a little different under the general statutes, so they're not considered as part of the funding under the nonprofits.
Okay.
So, but now back to Yadkin Valley United Fund. We also decided we would not fund organizations that gave money to another organization, so we did not allow them to subaward. That's important, which, as you know, the United Funds do subawards. So we held theirs to operating tied to marketing.
Okay.
So that they could market and their services, and of course the one in Mount Airy, which we'll talk about a little bit later, did something a little bit different as well, but they also did marketing.
Okay. Wow. Great. Surry Young Entrepreneurs, what is that exactly?
Surry Young Entrepreneurs is a group that is working mostly with high school students, and they are trying to entice them to go into business for themselves and to become entrepreneurs. And as the previous small business director at Surry Community College, I totally applaud that, because we need people with entrepreneurial spirit. I totally get behind that. What they do is a competition, and they do it annually. They are trying to develop their website, build that up, and they're trying to make it a program that even across the state, other counties can adopt and use.
Mm-hmm. Next two on the list, I see some medical entities, Surry Medical Ministries and Mountain Park Rescue Squad. Obviously, those benefit people, Denise.
They do. Surry Medical Ministries needed to move into a larger facility, and we helped with part of that. And then Mountain Park Rescue Squad, same thing. They wanted to purchase land, and they're trying to do a larger building. And so both of those were capital projects tied to growing to meet a larger community demand.
Right. And moving to our pets who we love like family members as well, Tiny Tigers Rescue and Mayberry for Paws. I see Tiny Tigers Spay and Neuter Surgeries and Mayberry for Paws benefited their drive-through rabies clinics.
Absolutely. And we held these to Surry County citizens. I think that's important to note as well. You know, we put avenues in place that these are Surry County dollars. So,
right.
You know, even though we support our neighboring communities and we want to, but these were Surry County dollars. So we held the surgeries and the rabies clinics and the activities to Surry County citizens.
Cool. Helping Hands of Surry County, what is that, Denise?
Helping Hands is the foundation that also has the Shepherd's House and different things.
Okay.
They do a food box truck, and they were looking for help with that. They do this anyway, but they wanted to get a larger truck to help because they see a larger need of people who, especially during COVID with prices going up, they're seeing an increase of families that need help with their food, and then the relocation capital to relocate into their new building.
Right. Surry County Schools Educational Foundation, classroom supplies.
This was an interesting one, and we went back and forth a little bit with the school system on this one. On their initial project was not that, but we felt like that money is for teachers who are having to spend out of their own pocket to buy supplies that may not be covered by the schools. So that money is set aside where teachers can ask the school's administration, and then they supply to the different schools.
So Northern Regional Hospital, the large hospital in Mount Airy, how did the Invest in Surry dollars help them?
There were three things that we provided to that. They did a COVID-19 fast track, which allowed them to reposition areas where they could get people who were potentially with COVID through quicker and safer. And then they did a step down unit for it's kind of that same thing where they could, because as you know, I don't know if you've been in Northern Regional, but you know, they're a small area hospital. It's chopped up in small areas, so that was something they did. And then oxygen and ventilators, we also provided money for those.
Children's Center of Northwest North Carolina.
And on the Children's Center, their residential services, they receive funding for most of their other services. So only residential is the only part we were able to help in the Invest in Surry dollars. And it was mainly because during COVID they could not do their fundraising activities, which put them in a position where they were either going to have to serve less individuals or figure out another way to make that work. So thankfully Invest in Surry dollars was able to make them maintain their level of serving their population.
Right. Mark York Tavern Restoration, owned by the Rockford Preservation Society.
And this one is a smaller project, but a very important one because, again, this is a very historical site in Surry County, which Rockford has a lot of historical sites. And that is something the Rockford Preservation Society has been working hard towards, is working on buildings one by one as they can. And so that's exciting that this building is going to have a restoration on it as well.
Right. I know the Surry County Historical Society was excited to receive their Invest in Surry dollars for the slave index and the operating equipment.
They were, and you know, I'm excited about the slave index because, you know, I'll be honest, I didn't even know that we had a slave index until they actually sent theirs in. But I think that's very, very important to the history of our county as well. All of the historical things, I think it's really important, and especially to a county like Surry, that we keep our history. And I think we do a good job of trying to keep our history. So I think it's a great thing when we can provide dollars that actually help us do that.
Right. And I know a lot of the families will be happy and are happy that they can trace back their ancestral heritage using that index, is what I've been told.
Absolutely. And then they needed a little bit of operating equipment to I think mainly a printer to work with that. So that was part of the money went to that.
Mount Airy Rescue Squad, we've got another rescue squad on here. What happened with them?
We do, and I'll go ahead and say we have also Dobson on here, and Pilot Mountain was on here.
Wow,
great. So we did, but Mount Airy and Dobson both used it for life-saving equipment.
Okay.
So
great.
AEDs, different things. Now Dobson's or one of them, and I think it was Dobson, was the one that actually is getting some water rescue equipment with their money, which I thought was interesting.
Use it on some of the rivers when needed. That's great. Mount Airy Public Library.
And all the libraries wound up applying and receiving some funds. So we'll go
Awesome.
ahead, so talk about those. Low Gap, Elkin, Mount Airy, Pilot, I think that's all of Dobson. And all of them did receive funding, actually, mainly for things like computers, digital scanning, furniture, because some of their furniture was old. And they actually, I don't know if citizens even know, but beyond just going to the library and checking out books, if you're looking for jobs, you can go in and they have computers where people can go in and look for jobs. People can go in and use for other things. So, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think they just think of the library, I can go get a book, but there are lots of other things. The libraries put on events, and some of this was like the children's areas. They were spending money on to do children's events.
Right. And let me tell the viewers something real quickly, Denise. Some of those dollars going to the libraries benefited their microfiche projects. If you've never had the pleasure of sitting down and doing a research project, or just sitting down in a library, or not sitting down in the library very much, you can actually have a lot of fun with a microfiche project or microfiche project, because there's a lot on those microfiche machines and their servers that you cannot find on Google. I want to stress that. So you need to try that out in these libraries. You can be in there all day. I'm serious. All right, what do we have next?
The Pilot Mountain Rescue Squad, we gave money for them for a capital for a new building. They're also moving in a new building.
Leadership development, what's that?
The Mount Airy group, actually, and they've had 3 of these, I think now. I've gotten pictures from some of those. I got a chance to stop by one of them. They are doing nonprofit leadership development classes, and they brought in a group from somewhere else who actually has come in and worked with nonprofits on how to run a nonprofit. How do you manage a nonprofit? How do you try to get money for a nonprofit? I mean, there's been lots of things that they have gotten to do, which is kind of an untapped opportunity, because other than the Small Business Center, who does programs for the businesses, there's not a large opportunity for free trainings for businesses. So,
Right. Sandy Level Community Council, how did Invest in Surry dollars benefit them?
they actually wound up doing a roof project, I think themselves too, to upfit the home. They have not gotten any of the garden phase yet.
Okay. Dobson Dolphin Swim Team Pool, what happened over there?
We actually help them with some chemicals, and they're a small pool too. And of course, they have the local swim team, and and the local swim team is actually. So I want to make a note to say the swim team is actually who we benefited, because they're a local nonprofit. So that's who we benefited. They go there, they practice, and we paid for a few pool repairs. There was some broken tiles, some broken cement, which is obviously a safety factor,
Right.
so we helped with that.
Right. Surry Friends of Youth, I believe this is a program that tries to match children with an adult for mentoring.
That is correct. And we help them with some software, supplies, some general operating costs like that.
Mount Airy Junior Women's Club, what did they get from Invest in Surry?
We provided money for a playground equipment, and I'm pretty sure it's at Tharrington. I don't have that listed on my actual list here, but I'm pretty sure that it was Tharrington. But they actually did. They sent me pictures the other day. I think that's another exciting. I think a lot of these will be exciting stories that the public will get to see later, because as these projects get completed, you guys will get to go out and actually talk to the organizations and let people see the fruits of the money.
Right. Habitat for Humanity in Mount Airy, asbestos removal. Where did that project take place?
Well, that project has not taken place. They have run up on a small issue with the building that they were going to that they were getting that has asbestos, has other things in the basement that has not been removed yet. So before that's removed, they have to get that removed before they can do asbestos.
Okay.
But it is the building that is close to Mount Airy High School, and they plan on turning that into a like a small kind of a incubator for small businesses. They plan on
Cool.
having some space for that.
Very nice. Education and tutoring for Echo Ministry / the Ark. What can you tell us about that?
The people that use their services, they have found, could have used that education, tutoring to help them sometimes, even the adults that they have. Perhaps they're limited English speaking or for other reasons. So that's where they chose to put their money instead of into their operating or into anything else. They particularly wanted to focus on an educational and tutoring focus for their clients that they serve.
That's great. And the Grace Clinic, lab equipment and building repair.
Yes. And mostly lab equipment, I will say. Grace Clinic in Elkin serves that community as well with health services, and the lab equipment allows them to be able to do things in-house for less money than they were able to do because they had to send things out.
Right. Okay. Mountain Valley Hospice, I know they stay busy over there.
They do, and they were going to do a Camp Kids, a room renovation. If you've never been to the hospice homes are very, very nice. The one in Surry we're very fortunate to have, and they have very nice rooms for families to go into, for children when they're there, for the structure. So they were going to renovate some of those rooms. Right. And then they're looking at doing a medical transport vehicle. This is one of the cases where we didn't limit what they used the money for. We let them pick and choose between the 3 projects that we obviously we were not able to fund all 3 projects at the level needed, but we allowed them to pick and choose how they wanted to spend their funds between the 3.
Right. Armfield Recreation Center in Pilot Mountain.
Armfield is actually there is a culvert. There's an issue with a culvert going into one of the communities, and that's where the money is going to be used to help repair that, because it's not one the state is not responsible for that particular repair.
I understand. Birch's Foundation.
And Birch's Foundation, we helped them out as well, and we mostly looked at wound care. That was what the board felt would be needed within that group most, based on what they spend their funds otherwise, and so we wound up doing wound care on that one.
Okay. J.J. Jones High School Alumni Chapter.
And specifically, that's for an auditorium roof repair of the J.J. Jones School, the auditorium at the gym. Yes.
Great, great.
Mm-hmm.
The Horn Creek Farm, right on the border of Surry and Stokes counties. Where did the Invest in Surry dollars go to for them?
They are actually, and this was a project too, sometimes you see a project and it kind of surprises you a little bit. This was another one. They actually are investing in equipment that is ADA and inclusion, so that if somebody is Spanish speaking or Chinese or any other language, then they can use this equipment to get the tour of Horn Creek, and they have ADA compliant for different individuals to get really the full experience of Horn Creek that you might not otherwise get.
That way everyone gets to enjoy it. That's awesome. Okay, Hugh Chatham Memorial Hospital.
And mainly we used for wellness center expansion. Hugh Chatham's wellness area was next to the hospital, and recently they've expanded out by the I-77, and they have plans of expanding even more for the wellness center. They hope to have a pool there, and so part of that money will go towards that project.
Right. And it looks like the remaining items are all libraries, which we previously discussed, but I'm sure they appreciated all the funding. Denise, as we went over this very comprehensive list, the main thought I had is how many lives were impacted and affected by Invest in Surry, which, if the truth be told, the $13 to $14 million long term, that's not a whole lot of money. But don't you think we've been able to invest in Surry County citizens very well with a small amount of money?
I actually think we have, and I think we were strategic in that. I'm on camera today, but I'm certainly not a mountain of one. I got in the applications, reviewed them, looked at things like the guidelines with the 50%, met with the county manager, then we met with a committee, then it went to the board. So we vetted these carefully amongst multiple people, and that was on purpose because we wanted to spend money in public health and public safety and public recreation and all the different areas. We didn't want the money to all go just for health or which, don't get me wrong, we could have spent that much money and more to aid public health or public safety, but we really wanted to spread the wealth, for lack of a better word, because we do feel like the other programs are inherent in what makes Surry County, Surry County. I'm very happy for these organizations, and I will say on behalf of these organizations to the board, they all express gratitude, and at some point in time I hope that we have an avenue for them to be able to do, because I get thank you notes which I share. They send me emails, when they send in their quarterly reports, they send notes about how exciting. I get the pictures like with the playground, hey, look, the playground's in, because so they're very excited about this opportunity.
Right. Well, there you have it. Very detailed discussion about our Invest in Surry dollars. We're glad to have been able to help Surry County citizens with these funds.
Find the Surry On The Go app on Roku, Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, Android phones and tablets, and Apple phones and tablets.